There was a guy who became homesick and wanted to travel back home, but he couldn't afford the plane ticket, so he instead shipped himself in a wooden crate halfway around the world. Here's the story of Brian Robson. In 1965, 19-year-old Brian was working for Victorian Railways in Australia and really hated it. He wanted to go back to London, but he couldn't afford the £700 plane ticket. Instead, he packed himself into a box with a pillow, suitcase, and a book of Beatles songs and had two guys he convinced to help him nail it shut before labeling the package as a computer and booking it onto a flight from Melbourne. Brian even took laxatives for a few days leading up to his departure so he wouldn't have to relieve himself on board, but things took a turn for the worst when the box ended up on a Pan Am flight to LAX instead, and he was eventually discovered by an airport worker 5 days later. He then spent another 5 days in hospital before questioned by the FBI and finally, deported back to the UK.